21 is the number where in our lifetime we're supposed to really step it up. That's the point at which we are stepping out of our youth and we're starting to really march into our adulthood. And today is the Resilient Entrepreneur Podcast number 21. And today the podcast is about leadership. And this is one of those topics where I do believe it should be a lifelong topic, no matter whether you are leading a church group and you are still in your teens, or you are possibly in your 20s and you're leading a small team where you work today, or you own your own business and you're 50 years old. It doesn't matter what age you are, leadership is always an opportunity to learn. And if you put yourself in the way of leadership, if you have the opportunity to exercise leadership on a regular daily basis, you are most likely putting yourself in an opportunity to learn every day. So let's talk about what you might be able to learn in the way of leadership. And again, whether that leadership might be your household, it might be where you work, it might be your church, it might even just be you and your normal day-to-day activities and you leading other people just to get what you want. And as silly as that sounds, it's not to be manipulative, but even if you go to the grocery store, you might be leading someone, a young individual who's stocking the shelves, and you ask the question, do you have this product? And they say, no, we don't. And then you might ask the question again and say, is there any possibility you had a truck come in today? And you get a pause. Oh, we may have gotten a truck today. And even in that very moment, it may be very small, and maybe you don't think of that as leadership, but that could be an example of leadership to get what you want. Because if you're able to leave the grocery store with the creamer that you came in for, I would say that's a big win. So let's talk about leadership and some examples of that, or some things that you can ask yourself, maybe even test yourself on. So I'm a big believer that leadership is from the top down. And it doesn't matter in what organization, whether it's a several thousand person organization, or it's 3 people in a church group, or it's 10 people going on a scuba diving trip somewhere around the world. Leadership can emerge from anywhere. So when you think about leadership, here's the first question. If I asked you, what are your objectives and your goals for the next 12 months? Can you write them down in 2 minutes or less? Is it a short list? Meaning something maybe 5 to 10 or less, in 5 to 10 items on the list. And then the next question is going to be, are they written down somewhere? And I'm sure this is not the first time you've heard this, but when you think about as distracted as we have all been this year, those written goals are things that will help individuals stay on track. So that's why I asked the question, are those goals written down somewhere? Here's the next. So this is question number 2. The first one was a couple-part question. But question number 2 is really about, if I were to come into your place of business, make a surprise visit, which I've been known to do. But if I were to come into your place of business, make a surprise visit, and walk around with a sheet of paper and a pen and hand it out to 5 to 10 people in your company, your business, your place of work, and say, I want you to write down all the goals that your business is supposed to achieve this year. Would they be able to write those things down? Do they know what they are? Would they be able to bet their paycheck on those goals? Meaning, here's the list, I've written it down for you, and I feel so concrete about these goals that I'm willing to bet my next paycheck that this is what the owner or manager will also write. So that was question number 2. Question number 3 is, I would also want them to define what's their role in this business or practice achieving its goals. So you as the individual, the person I just asked the question to, not you, but your employee or the person that you manage, what's your role in achieving these goals? Do they know and realize? So it could be something as simple as, well, we want to acquire another 50 Google reviews in the next 2 months. Great goal, admirable goal. Question is, does each person in your business or your practice know and understand how they contribute to that goal of getting 50 more Google reviews. It could be something as simple as that. It could be something a little more complex like sales or collections or number of units of something. So that is another really big one because, again, we're talking about leadership here. Leadership is about an individual being out in front and leading the others. When we have difficulties with leadership, it may be because we're not the one driving the bus. We might be in the pack, actually with our sleeves rolled up day to day, getting things done. And that's great. That's one of the things I admire a lot is when people who are in a position of leadership are willing to roll up their sleeves. But the reality of it is, if they're there every day, if they're there 8 hours a day, they're not in a position to lead. You are not in a position to lead, because if you're there every day, then you have no time to be able to get out in front and lead. So we need the individuals to know and understand what the goals are and what their role is in achieving the goals. And then we need to communicate, and we need to set up strategically different times and ways for you to be able to communicate. Here's what the goal is, and here's where we are relative to our goal. That type of thing keeps the goals, the concepts, the objectives out in front. So if we want a certain number of new customers and new patients, then that's got to stay out in front. And that might be partly our marketing team, that might be partly our internal team, because we just something as simple as asking for referrals on a daily basis, or asking about other people that they may know, because let's face it, doesn't matter what type of business it is. Let's just say you go to a steakhouse, you love steaks. Your waiter or waitress asks you, how did you like the steak tonight? It was phenomenal. Well, if you know anybody else that wants a phenomenal steak, you know where we live now or where we work now, right? And it's something as simple as that. And now I've asked them to go out and tell all their friends. So that in itself, keeping yourself out in front so the individuals on your team have the goal, the objective, and their role front of mind at all times. Because we can get distracted with so many other things throughout the course of the day, but in the end, it doesn't matter unless we stay true to the goals. And the last piece of this is also maintaining accountability. So we may have individuals who are accountable for certain numbers. And it may be that we want, again, a certain number of new patients, certain number of new clients, certain number of procedures, certain number of a given product. Okay, there's a level of accountability with individuals to get a result. And that may be just the daily reminders for them. It may be going and asking questions, but we need that accountability. So in this list, we're finding out first from the top down, does the leader or leaders actually know the objectives? Is it so concrete that they also have those goals written down somewhere where they actually see them on a daily basis? Not meaning we write them down and we put them in a drawer that we never open again. It's somewhere where we see them daily. And we need to know whether the team really knows those goals. We need to know whether the team understands their role in the goals. We need to keep this out in front via communication with our team. And then the last is just to maintain the accountability. So with those things alone, you can continue to move the needle in a positive direction with your team and do so in such a way that you are not stressing yourself out. Again, whether you're a owner, manager, you are a key team member, you're just the salt of the earth person that's on the front lines that takes care of everything. Well, the reality of it is no one person can take care of everything. It doesn't matter what position you're in, you can't do it all. So you do the things that you are best at, and then we have others that will carry the torch for the rest of the way. So that, my friends, is a Resilient Entrepreneur Podcast number 21. And I can guarantee you ask yourselves those questions, be real with those answers, be real with your team regarding those answers. And if you don't give yourself a 10 out of 10 on that, then I would say you have some serious opportunity there. So as I said, my friends, that's the Resilient Entrepreneur Podcast number 21. If you have other topics, other things you'd like me to talk about, let me know. I love getting the feedback. I love getting the questions. And I've got another one coming up that I think will also be another one that hits home with many of you in the next podcast.